Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks. Today we see an interesting announcement. Professor Mark Woolhouse tells MPs there was not a single virus outbreak linked to crowded UK beaches last summer. You remember last summer, how it was reported in the mainstream media, all of these people flocking to the beach and how this was going to cause some kind of Armageddon. It was treated as the crime of the century at the time. Look at this article at the time. Sage said 59,000 people could die with COVID over summer in reasonable worst case scenario. The figure is included in a newly published Sage document titled COVID-19 Reasonable Worst Case Planning Scenario from May. And they talked about Bournemouth's packed beach at the time as an example. 59,000 could die, they reckoned. Turns out, no, not one outbreak linked to beaches all over the UK. That's how wrong they were. Thousands of people rubbed shoulders with strangers as beaches were filled with families and sun seekers looking to spend a day by the sea. It says here, at one point, a major incident was declared in Dorset after emergency services were stretched to the limit. So stretching your emergency service to the limit, and what was the result of all of these thousands of people gathering? Nothing. Not one outbreak linked to a crowded beach. So all of that emergency talk, all of that stretching of emergency services was obviously an irrational and totally over-exaggerated response by the government. Here is an article in The Telegraph. The snobbish shaming of beachgoers has to stop, where it states people were branded COVIDiots for flocking to the beach. Now a Sage scientist has said not one infection has been traced back to a day at the seaside. We now know who the real COVIDiots were, it says in The Telegraph. Rational people always knew the risks were tiny, of course, it says here. So how many times are we now going to see examples like this in the future, where we see an article that shows how a government, doesn't matter, could be the UK, could be somewhere else, has responded irrationally to what can now be seen as something that is obviously there was no risk whatsoever. How many people around that time who were in trouble, maybe being mugged in the street, who had an accident, who have died due to the emergency services being stretched at that time? This is a great example of complete nonsensical overreaction. Not one single outbreak linked to all of those packed beaches. I'm pretty sure in the future we will hear the same thing about lockdowns, but the cost of the lockdowns will be monumental. The damage done by them will be gigantic. We'll have a longer video up tonight, a roundup video hopefully. As always, thanks for listening. Come and subscribe to Hugo Talks. It's the only place where I get to keep the subscribers. If, for instance, here on YouTube I get deplatformed, I lose all of the subscribers and therefore I lose contact with you all. But if you subscribe to hugotalks.com, I can continue to update you with latest news. See you later.